Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I'm Sam.
I'm Bernard.
And I'm Trish.
And today we are continuing our playthrough of Lufia II, Rise of the Sinistrals, covering up until the scenes after the Southeast Tower. But before we get to all of that, how was everyone's week?
I finished my last shift at my old job, and I'm starting my new job tomorrow.
Hell
Congrats!
Yeah. Will be great to not have to record on Sunday mornings.
Yes, I'm freaking out.
Yay!
Yeah, I'm very happy for you.
And because you know I've been playing old PlayStation games. I played through Ratchet and Clank. It's pretty good.
That's good to hear.
I played through it, and then I decided I wanted to maybe get the Platinum Trophy, and it looked like you'd have to play through the whole game again, and I was like, But turns out there is a super weapon you can get, and I do like playing through a game a second time with a super weapon that trivializes the game. I find that
is
fun.
Always very fun.
I really love doing that in Resident Evil Village, and I am enjoying doing it in Ratchet and Clank. I am streaming the PS3 version on my PS5, and there is a trophy for getting 1 million of the game's currency, which is bolts. The problem is, my estimate is that by the end of a single playthrough, you will have gotten like maybe 150,000.
Ah.
So, but luckily there's an AFK grinding method our farming method, where you just have to hold down the circle button with a rubber band and you get bolts, and you just have it sitting there for 12 hours or so. Unfortunately, the PS5 streaming thing would time out. Like, I tried doing it, and then after 10 minutes, a timeout thing popped up, and I was like, oh no. So I pressed another button. But then I found if I also offset the analog stick, that counted as continuous new inputs. So I tricked the system and streamed the game for like 12 hours.
Nice. I love that in the past, like 3 of the most recent games that we have played for this podcast or the bonus feed, or at least mentioned on it, we have found a way to AFK grind to get some stupid shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, in Star Ocean 1 and 2, it was just sort of because the game stopped being fun and we needed it to be easier.
Mm-hmm.
For this, it was, I wanted a trophy and I wanted that super weapon, which costs a lot of bolts.
I do love a super weapon, so that would be a very good reason to do it. What about you, Trish? How was your week?
Couple things, I guess. I randomly one day had the strange desire to go back to play Fire Emblem Awakening again, because as I talked about ages ago on the podcast, I found there was that game mod, and for a while I was like, okay, but should I return to my playthrough that was like halfway through the game and just finish it out, or should I start over? I'm leaning towards starting over. Turns out I didn't need to worry about it because I forgot I'd moved computers and the save file didn't make the move for some reason. So there was nothing to decide. I just had to start over, which is fine. I'm a freak, so I went to the spreadsheet for the mod of like what support conversations have been done so far, and I used that to make my own spreadsheet that was more concise and elegant, specifically for exactly what I was looking for, which was which things should I do this playthrough. So I decided that ahead of time. I'm like farther than I was on my last playthrough. I'm getting close to finishing the game again. But also, I'm left being like, damn, I see the holes in what is written for this mod, and I really want to put, like, I'd like to be a part of making this mod. I'd love to add something. So I joined the Discord for it, and I've already submitted one full support conversation. I'm planning to do another at some point. But shout out to the unofficial Gay Awakening mod and the server for it. They're great.
Yeah,
Already
Awakening is
made a
such
couple
an
friends there.
obvious name for it, but also it's very good.
It is very good. This time around, so like my last time I did it, I had Virian be Crom's husband. And so what's delightful is unlike a lot of the other relationships, changing who Crom is married to actually changes some story scenes because Crom's partner has to be around for certain things. And that I was delighted to see that they did fun things for that, and they like had fun incorporating how different characters would change those story cutscenes. And apparently they did it for a number of other characters. This time I made it Gaius, the sweets loving thief, and actually having him be Crom's husband slash Lucina's other dad, or Lucina's other dad is hilarious. It's really good. I loved it. So I've been doing that. And then randomly the other day, I was watching through YouTuber Skip Intro, does really good video essays on TV stuff. He had done it one at one point about the Watchmen HBO series from 2019, and I was like, I've never seen that, and I'm intrigued. So I just somehow managed to do what I never do and force myself to just start watching a show by myself. I'm like halfway through the season. I hesitate to say it is necessarily good or great at this point because I'm still waiting to see where the cards fall. But thus far, it's fascinating.
Yeah, I've heard it's really good.
Yeah, it's. I think it's fine to say at the very least say it's really good. The thing I'm more waiting for is seeing how it handles the cop stuff long term, because most of the protagonists are cops, and how you handle a thing like that will really affect how I feel about a series. But even regardless of that, it's just fascinating way to handle trying to do anything else in the Watchmen universe. Having read like 4 to 6-ish issues, I can't remember, it's been years, of the Doomsday Clock comic sequel that Jeff Johns was doing to Watchmen, which, if I'm being nice, has a couple interesting concepts, and that's basically it. This is just way more like, oh no, you actually get Watchmen. You're trying to do something fun with it. You're trying to tell a new story using some of the same pieces. You're remixing it. That's good. I appreciate that. Unsurprising, I like it. I mean, I love Lost, and this is similar creative minds from the people who did Lost. But yeah, no, that show's been good. I hope to finish it, and so far, Severance Season 2 has been good. Other than that, I have not had a ton going on. How about you, Sam?
So I have been making stovetop popcorn a lot lately, and just a thing I did for the kids. Because we were having a family movie night about a month ago now, and we had gotten a Jiffy Pop that we were going to do, and the Jiffy Pop had gone stale or didn't have enough holes or had too many holes or something, but it didn't work and it just burned instead of popping. So I was like, well, we wanted this to be a special thing, so as a next best thing, I'm going to go get stuff to make stovetop popcorn. And then I got real into making stovetop popcorn. So for a movie night this last week, we were going to watch Dogman 2025, which is very good, for the record. And so we were going to make popcorn, and I got Flavacol, the secret ingredient to make your popcorn taste good. And they delivered it at like 3:45, and the office closes at 4 o'clock. So I wasn't able to get it in time for the movie night, which really, really sucked. So I had to get it the next day. And so while I was waiting for that next day, I was like, I wonder if anybody on like Craigslist or anything like that is just selling a popcorn machine, because it would be dope to just have a popcorn machine now that I have Flavacol and can make really good movie theater popcorn, and somebody had a whirly pop, which is basically a popcorn kettle like you would have in a popcorn machine, but you put it on your stove and it's a hand crank instead of a motor. And it's fantastic. So
Yay!
I made popcorn using the secret ingredient from Galaxy Theaters back home, and I had some Galaxy popcorn in my house in Madison, hundreds of miles away, and I felt like a madman, and I'm unstoppable. So I've been
Good.
the Flavacol set that I got had just the regular popcorn salt, but it also had kettle corn glaze and caramel corn glaze, and
Ooh.
that's pretty dope.
I need to look this shit up because this sounds fantastic.
Yeah, a brand new whirly pop I think is like $30 something. It's not bad at all, and I got mine $20 because it's local. But yeah, it's dope.
Now I'm just thinking about pepcorn.
Pepcorn. Oh yes, I know Pepcorn. The Pepcorn video.
Yes.
Actually, speaking of making things, I also one of my housemates expressed interest in me making a specific dessert, so I did. I made my one of my favorite desserts, a no-bake cheesecake, which is really just sweet. Like it's just like, you know, like a sweet custardy pie filling in a pre-done pie shell, but it's fucking delicious. It's my favorite kind of cheesecake, and people from New York who have objections to that can go to hell.
People from New York can go to hell.
Absolutely.
No, they don't have to go anywhere though. They're already there. I joke. New York's not the worst.
New York's not for me, personally.
That's also true for me, but you know what is for me?
What?
Lufia II.
I mean, I was halfway in the middle of a sentence when you
fuck,
interrupted me. But
misread that entirely. Go ahead.
The other thing that I did this week is a good friend of mine and friend of the podcast, Maddie Grace Webben, said, "Hey, you should read The Expanse because I think you would really like The Expanse." And then I looked at my towering TBR of things I wanted to read this year, and so far I've only read Things with Other People, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I'll read The Expanse. And it's really good. I really enjoy it as a book. I bounced hard off of the show. Now that I've read more of it, I can tell that like it might be the kind of the show that like gets on my nerves a little, but in book form, it's working really, really well. So if you are the type to like a mystery in a sci-fi setting with like a crass attitude, feels vaguely similar to what I've seen of The Boys, but not exactly that. The Boys is like cranked up to 12 or 13, and this one's just like at an 8 or 9. But it's real good, and I'm real into it. And Maddie knows me and knew that I would like it. And it's so funny. The show, the reason I bounced off of it is it felt very much like, hello, this is a television show that you now have to pay attention to, and you are chemically imbalanced to be able to pay attention to a television show. So good fucking luck. But
yeah.
But the book, like in the first paragraph or two, talks about somebody pissing themselves, and then in the first proper chapter, a guy is getting a robot arm, and he goes, "Yeah, it'll be great because now when I jerk off, it'll feel like getting a hand job." And I'm like, okay, yeah, these are different tones entirely. Apparently, that stuff is still there in the show. That's where like the crassness value comes from, but it's a little bit more of a serious sci-fi show first. So that's why I bounced off of it. But yeah, I was really, really, really enjoying it. So big recommend from me. About 12 chapters into the nationally popular series, The Expanse.
Nice.
You know what else is a big recommend for me?
No, I don't. I couldn't
Okay.
possibly have any idea.
Let's talk about Lufia II and the Fortress of Sinistrals.
After Maxim's mysterious encounter with the mysterious Iris, we're free to go back to Elcid or venture into the wider world and pursue Maxim's destiny. There's nothing new in Elcid, and if we talk to Tia, Maxim doesn't say anything to her about all this. So let's just go venture. Maxim heads through the cave to the town of Sundleton. When he arrives, an earthquake strikes the town. Apparently, Sundleton's been having a lot of earthquakes lately. The local mysterious old man says a giant catfish in the nearby cave is causing the earthquakes.
No one believes him, though.
The kids believe him, but the adults think he's
Yeah.
crazy.
To be fair, if a local old man told me that earthquakes were caused by a giant catfish, I'd be a little doubtful.
Yeah. But this is a fantasy world.
It's a
You can buy
fantasy
magic
world.
in a shop. Speaking of shops, an NPC in the weapon shop introduces us to the concept of IP. What do y'all think of this mechanic?
I like it.
I really like it. It is a mix between force points from Wild Arms, which is what I was alluding to last week when I said Wild Arms stole this, but also mixed a little bit with like weapon bound abilities like Final Fantasy IX and Tactics Advance. And it's cool. I like it a lot.
We
Yeah,
should probably
like a lot of-
explain what the mechanic actually is.
Yeah, well, this is a lot of JRPGs have had some sort of system where you accrue something that is different from MP as a resource for using special abilities, ones that are not really themed to be as magical usually. And in this game, you get it from taking damage, and it builds up, and you get abilities. You can use them from your equipment. Different pieces of equipment will sometimes have different IP abilities, and you can just use those mid-battle like you would any other move. They're neat.
And you can only use them when you have that piece of equipment equipped. And
Yes.
so it's not always best to use the equipment with the best stats because maybe you want a certain IP ability.
Yeah.
Maybe you should make sure that Tia always has a healing spell on her thing so that you can heal when you run out of MP.
Yeah. Also, there's also equipment that just in general, there's been stuff done for other equipment that makes you might want to use it. Like, I don't know, if you have a piece of equipment called, like, Insect Smasher or something that seems to do absurd damage to anything the game counts as an insect. That's just good to have, because a lot of the enemies in this game are insects.
Mm-hmm.
True.
And a real cool thing is if you dig into the IP system, a lot of Jaren's like in-game spells you have access to on shitty equipment that you can find this early. And so I was able to find Boost was the heal everybody, whatever the make somebody super strong one was, whatever that one was called. I found that one on an equipment this early, and so I was making Maxim hit real hard really early, which is really cool.
I also enjoy how the abilities have nothing to do with the actual item.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, this dress has healing magic. It's just a dress.
Mm-hmm.
This sword can do an ice attack. It's not an ice sword. It's just a sword.
Yeah, like I found the first one I found was a thunder sword that had a thunder attack. And I'm like, awesome. And then I pick up Dagger, and Dagger has an ice attack, and I'm like, okay, I guess they don't have to be themed.
Nope.
Yeah. So Mysterious old men have proven pretty reliable in Lufia so far, so we decide to go to the cave to search for the giant catfish. After some fun dungeoneering, wouldn't you know it, we find a giant catfish. The giant catfish says it was causing the earthquakes because it was bored, and it hoped that if it created earthquakes, someone would come to fight it. Maxim fights it and kicks its ass, or whatever fish have. The catfish promises to not cause any more earthquakes and sinks below the water.
And if you're lucky, it dropped a rare item that makes this game so much easier.
You mentioned that, and I was tempted to try and get it, but I was like, no, I don't want to.
I could talk about that more in memorable moments, but it's fun.
Yeah, when you described it, I was like, there's no way in hell I'm doing that.
Fair, because I will say it's not easy. This is not a game where you could easily use save state scumming to get a certain drop. By the time the fight starts, what item you're getting is locked. So you have to do some bullshit.
Yeah.
Back in Sundleton, people thank Maxim for stopping the earthquakes. I guess since there hasn't been any earthquakes in the space of time it took for Maxim to get back to Sundleton, everyone's certain they're gone for good. And they somehow know that Maxim is responsible. People also mention that there's going to be a coronation ceremony in the nearby Alun's kingdom, and so that sounds like our next destination. Except a guy in town says a young woman was looking for Maxim. He directed her to the cave because he thought she would find Maxim there, but they must have just missed each other. We can try to pass through the shrine which leads to Alun's kingdom, but the bridge was destroyed by the earthquakes and won't be fixed until we complete the required story events. So we head back to the cave to find this woman that was looking for us, and it's Tia. She's being chased by monsters, so we own the monsters. Maxim asks what on earth Tia is doing here. She says she felt like he was going away and couldn't help following. Maxim admits he was leaving without telling her anything, and says all the stuff that Iris said about the Orb of Light and his destiny. Tia insists that Maxim take her with him. She says she runs a weapons shop, so she knows how to fight. Maxim agrees to travel together with her. So Tia has joined the party, so the party will not exclusively be the legendary heroes from the first game, so that's interesting.
It is.
The bridge in the shrine which leads to Alun's kingdom has been fixed, so we head through it. At this point, we have the opportunity to acquire our first capsule monster. What do y'all think of this mechanic?
I don't know how to do it. I still don't have any capsule monsters.
All you have to do is you have to go south after going through the shrine, and you go to a forest, and it's not even a dungeon. You just walk up, and you get the capsule monster.
Yeah, like all the capsule monsters are in very specific places. The thing I would best compare them to is the way, I can't remember which one, but there is a Mega Man Battle Network where there is like a virus catching thing, and you can feed them and grow them so they're more useful for your thing, and they evolve into different states, which is basically what's going on with capsule monsters. The thing about... So the way you evolve them is if you go to the screen for it, it'll have like a thing that it wants, like it's thinking of a certain item. As best as I can tell, it'll accept anything that's kind of close, but anything else, if you try to feed it, it won't accept it. It gives it no growth. So, and it changes what it's thinking of eating after at least every battle. So you need to check and hope you have it. And if you have the exact item it wants, it'll get a lot more growth. And if you feed enough things, it evolves into a new form. And there's, I think, 3 stages of forms or something like that. It's interesting. Like, it's not... I think of everything this game adds and flourishes with, I feel like this is the thing that doesn't need to necessarily be here. Like, it isn't adding that much, at least so far. But it's not bad. I'm not going to turn down an extra little party member.
Yeah, Sam, maybe that's why you had trouble with this section.
It's just an extra person who just attacks every turn for you.
And can sometimes take attacks from the monsters instead of you.
Yeah, I tried to find the things. They told me whereabouts where it was, but I must have just gone in the wrong direction.
So easy to find. It is right there.
Yeah, I probably just like turned the wrong way or something, because they were like, oh, it's in the forest right over there, and there's like a like 2x2 square of forest, and I like walked around in it for a bit, and I wasn't running into anything special, and I thought that's what I was
So
supposed to
it
be looking
doesn't
for, and
look
I was
like a
like,
normal forest tile. It has a
yeah,
unique
I see it in the
tile.
let's play now, so I could go back and get it just by a warp at the shop to go and grab it or whatever. But yeah, I think at the time I was like expecting it to be a chocobo in the various ones where you have to go to a specific spot, run into them in battle, and then capsule monster them. And when it didn't happen right away, I was like, yeah, this doesn't seem like something I want to mess with. But turns out I was just stupid.
Trish, have you managed to evolve your Pokemon?
I did. I got it to second form.
I have not yet. I thought you had to give it exactly what it was asking for. So I've only
you want to. The best thing to do is to wait until it's asking for something a shop sells and just buy it whatever it wants and feed it and then just keep doing that. And then if it asks for something you don't have access to, go into a battle and come back. That's the best way to do it. It's gonna cost you a lot of money because it's frequently gonna ask for shit that's like, oh, it wants a mace that costs 800 gold, and that's just gone now. It just ate the money.
I've just been going along, and like when I happen to go in the menu and see, oh, it wants a hide armor, and I have one, I'll feed it. So mine is not very big and strong yet. But after we get the capsule monster, which is just like it looks just like a pile.
It does just look like a pile of things. Like it's just like some goo.
It looks like some fluff.
Yeah. It's like
Mm-hmm.
dandelion fluff.
Yeah. We arrive in Alun's kingdom and hear that because of the prince's upcoming coronation ceremony, the castle is allowing visitors to view the crown. We might as well go do that. We enter the throne room, and immediately a pair of soldiers rush in and say the crown has been replaced with an imitation. They grab the crown, saying they're going to take it to an expert to confirm. A guard stops them and is like, hey, I don't recognize you. What's your deal? So, caught in the act, the soldiers reveal themselves to be the apparently world-renowned thieves Bart and Birdie. They talk weird.
I love them, Your Honor.
Same.
Guards surround them, but they throw a bomb. The bomb does not detonate. So they go up to the bomb to see what's wrong, and it explodes on them. They survive and run off. Then Birdie runs back in, grabs the crown, and runs off again while everyone just sort of watches.
It's so stupid.
The whole thing with, oh, the bomb didn't go off, oh, it went off and everything, I didn't really find that particularly funny, but when they run out, then Birdie runs back in, grabs the crown, and runs back out, I found that very funny.
It was very good, and just in general, I would compare them to Isaac and Miria from Bacano, but I feel like that's rude to Isaac and Miria. These guys are so fucking lame. I love it.
Yes. So we're JRPG heroes, so obviously it falls on us to recover the crown. If we ask around, we hear that the thieves were seen escaping into the catacombs under the castle, which are apparently huge and infested with monsters. That's right, we have a dungeon, which is neither cave nor tower. It's not a very original idea for a dungeon, just like some catacombs and sort of a sewer, but still, it's not a cave and it's not a tower.
We did it. Look how far we've come.
In the dungeon, we find our next dungeon item. Bombs! So yeah, they work like video game bombs. Except they don't blow up after a specific amount of time. They blow up after you take a specific number of actions, so steps or sword swings.
Mm-hmm.
We use them to venture further into the dungeon. I don't know how Bart and Birdie got past the cracked walls we have to blow up without blowing them up themselves, but whatever.
They are very good thieves in only one respect.
Yes. Or they're good masons and just rebuilt the walls behind them very quickly. Once we get deeper into the catacombs, we encounter Bart and Birdie. They flip a switch, which will make water come crashing through the waterway we're standing in. Oh no! Except it actually makes water crash through the waterway that they are standing in. Looks like Bart and Birdie are blasting off again. We follow the waterway and find the crown, but the thieves are nowhere to be seen. Tia wonders if they, died, but Maxim says, quote, "They're the type that always comes back to bug you over and over."
I love that the characters are aware that they have just met their quirky mini-boss squad, except they're not even mini-bosses.
We didn't even fight them. There's not even a boss for this dungeon. I wonder if we ever actually will fight them, or if they'll just blast off again at the end of every misadventure.
I would genuinely love that.
So we collect the crown and head back to the throne room. The king thanks us and asks what we would like as a reward. We can request nothing, money, the princess's hand, or the king's hand. No matter what we pick, we get money, though if we ask for nothing, we get the most money.
Yep.
That's what I did.
Same. I said, "Excuse me, fairy, I dropped in a normal axe."
I save stated and did all of them, and asking for the princess's hand or the king's hand are both kind of funny. But I in the alpha timeline I chose nothing because I want money.
I need the money. I have a very hungry pet.
Yes, and stuff isn't cheap.
Stuff is not fucking cheap in this game.
So now that we've resolved this town's plot, it's time for us to move on to the next town. Except it turns out the shrine leading to the next area is locked, and a local troublemaker child, Abel, stole the key and ran off to a nearby cave. We go there and find him at the entrance. He says a monster came after him, and he was so freaked, his exact word, he threw the key at it and ran away. The monster took the key and went down into the depths of the cave, so looks like we have another cave dungeon on our hands.
Mm-hmm.
We do. Funny story, though. When the thieves ran off with the crown, I remembered seeing a cave nearby, and I went, well, clearly, the thieves went into a cave. This is a Lufia game. That's where they had to go. So I went off and I did as much of the cave I could without bombs, which is actually quite a bit. But I eventually, of course, reached some roadblocks that stopped me from finishing it. I was like, wow, I don't understand what I'm doing wrong here. And then I look at a guide and I'm like, oh, I was supposed to just go in the basement. God damn.
Yeah, you'd think for that cave they would have put a bomb wall right near the beginning so that doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
The long play I'm watching a weird off-brand long play because it has more NPC dialogue in it.
Mm-hmm.
But they're kind of bad at the game in funny ways, and also the title is misspelled. But yeah, they also didn't talk to NPCs in the castle, and who didn't talk to the right NPCs in the castle who tell you that they went to the basement, and this person went to the cave and went through the whole thing. And I was like, oof, I'm glad I happened to speak to the right NPCs and find out where the people went. We find a goblin at the end of the cave, and we are like, hey, can we have the key? And he's like, no, and attacks.
We find
I
him
appreciate that we asked.
immediately behind a bombable wall with no other egress to that room. How?
I don't know. Goblins can go through walls, maybe. I don't know. It's a fantasy world.
He caused a little avalanche after he went in to block it up.
So we kill the goblin and take the shrine key. We head to the shrine and find a young woman there who is distraught because she can't get back to her hometown of Tanbil due to the shrine being locked. So we're like, hey, we got the key. We unlock the shrine, and she tells us she'll let us stay at her inn for free if we visit Tanbil. She heads off, and so do we. We head off in the same direction, and it's like, is she just going to be, 30 feet in front of us this whole way? But we arrive in Tanbil, and the woman from the shrine is there, and so we finally make introductions. Her name is Hilda, a name which might sound familiar to us from last week. Or might not. We might have forgotten. Her brother, Guy, shows up, and hopefully we remember Guy's name from the last game.
I don't know
Yeah.
what you mean. Never
Which
heard
was
of
like,
him.
where she was like, "My name's Hilda." I'm like, "That sounds kind of familiar." And then in walks a guy. I'm like, "That definitely sounds familiar. I think this is. I think I know who this is now."
So her brother Guy shows up, and she tells him about what we did for her, and he thanks us. And he and Hilda argue for a bit about nonsense, and then Hilda leaves to prepare dinner for everyone. Guy asks Maxim to join him for training because I guess he can tell Maxim is a badass fighter dude.
Yeah, he sensed his energy and could tell he fought one of the Sinistrals.
You know, has anyone mentioned energy yet? I guess
No,
Aram did ask if the dual blade was resonating, which is adjacent.
Mhm.
it's adjacent, but that's been it so far.
I don't think we've had the word energy.
Yeah, and if anyone would have, it would have been Iris being like, "Oh, you're the chosen one. I can tell from your energy or something." And not yet.
Wild.
Wild.
If we go to the inn, Hilda says dinner is not ready yet, so we go to train with Guy. And right as we're about to get started training, Guy is in the middle of a jump slash attack. In midair, someone runs up and says monsters are attacking. Two monsters, led by a scary guy, appear. Maxim, Tia, and Guy fight off the monsters, and the scary guy poofs away. Another someone runs up and says monsters kidnapped Hilda and took her to Southeast Tower. Guy says he's going to save her, and we offer to help. Guy joins the party, and we head for the tower, so it looks like we've got a tower dungeon this week, too. Except, this is not like any tower we saw in Lufia 1. It is way cooler.
So cool.
It's there are the points when you go to the outside of the tower and
Hell
you're
yeah.
walking around the outside. I talked about multiple times last time whenever we went to the Fortress of Doom, and there was that one hallway where it was this long, open windowed hallway where you could see the sky outside as you walk by it. This is like that times 10. Like, all of the exterior tower parts just feel so cool. I love
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
And also the way it sort of cheats into being a side view. It sort of reminds me of Link's Awakening a little bit.
Mhm.
I
I was
love
gonna
it.
say Link's Awakening or the Oracle Zelda games both did that trick.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, this one specifically reminded me of the tower in. Now I can't remember which of the three it was, but y'all know the one I'm talking about. The tower that does
Yeah.
this in that Zelda game.
Yeah. So side note, there seems to be some disagreement about the exact mechanics, but it seems that characters in the back row take less physical damage than characters in the front row. So you should take a moment to swap Tia and Guy's positions.
Yeah, because Tia dies a lot.
She does. She
I've only
doesn't
had her
have a
die
lot
once.
of HP. I think I had her die once or twice, but I
Which is more
did
than the
think to
others.
put her in the back row, so
Yeah, the
will
way
talk
you
about
move
how
the
many
party
times my
around,
characters died later.
the the amount of time you have to adjust characters between the front and back row, like the way that works is a little funky. Like, don't know if I like how that is handled in system, but it's fine. It works.
I thought I only had to do it once.
Well, I meant more. So there, I'm guessing there's an in-battle thing for it. The thing I did outside of battle for it is if you change what position people are in your party in the menu, that also will like switch the position in the battle,
Yeah.
which is what I did. That just seems less. I Unless I missed something, I didn't see a way out of battle to be like, no, I want this person in the front row and these people in the back row.
No, you can do that outside of battle. I
Oh,
forget
well, I missed
exactly
it then.
how, but there is a menu item. I think it's called Change, which, isn't the most intuitive name for it.
Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know.
So it would be understandable to miss it. But yeah, just try everything in the main menu and something will let you do it. I didn't actually realize there was a way to do it in battle. I just noticed that, when you get surprise attacked by an enemy, your formation will be all messed up.
It'll be the reverse, yeah.
Yeah. So we reach the top of the tower after a bunch of puzzles, and we find the scary guy from earlier with Hilda held hostage. Guy asks why he would kidnap Hilda. The scary guy says he was ordered to assess the abilities of certain men, and decided the best way to do that for Guy was to kidnap his sister. So we fight the scary guy, and it's a hard fight, but we kill his ass. With his dying breath, he says that soon the time will come when the world is ruled by Sinistrals, by gods. He says we'll never leave here, and the door leading downward closes. The scary guy disappears, which means he died. The tower starts shaking, but we can't open the freaking door because it's fucking magic locked. But then the door is unsealed from the outside, and Iris rushes in. Maxim is like, what? But Iris warps everyone to Tanbil before we can ask her what her deal is. When we appear in Tanbil, Iris is nowhere to be seen. While Hilda rests, Maxim tells Guy about Iris and his mission. Maxim says that if they really exist, he has to face the gods out to take over the world. Guy asks if Maxim really believes he can stand against them. Maxim says he does believe that. Guy feels the same. He says he won't be ruled by these gods. A woman enters and says she can tell he really wants to go with Maxim. Turns out she's Jessie, Guy's girlfriend. Jessie tells Guy to go on his adventure and she'll take care of Hilda. Guy officially joins the party and we set off for new adventures next week.
Yay.
Yay!
Let's listen to some of this music and then talk about our Mim Moms.
Okay, so you know how we noted last week that there was that part where in the original translation they said Sinistrals, and in the updated one we're playing they say gods?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, in the one part where the scary guy, I forget his name, says Sinistrals, it still says Sinistrals in both versions. However, you might have noticed in the later dialogue there's lots of references to gods.
Yeah.
In the original translation, those are super beings.
Beautiful.
They're like, are you sure you can stand up against these super beings?
Incredible.
I think calling them gods is better.
Yeah,
But,
I agree.
I don't think Nintendo of America would have it. Nintendo of America didn't publish this, but, you know, Nintendo loomed large.
Nintendo loomed quite large. Yes. That's delightful. Love that fun fact.
So I want to apologize to Lufia II for saying it had Zelda puzzles, because Zelda needs to get on Lufia II's level.
Agreed. So agreed.
It's like has better Zelda dungeons than most Zelda-like games, despite not actually being structurally and mechanically a Zelda-like game.
No.
That color block puzzle from, I can't remember which dungeon we'd played because we did 3 of them today, but the one that had the color block puzzle, I loved that one. That was a fun brain teaser.
Yeah, a lot of these are thinkers.
Mm-hmm.
And like I really like the puzzle where you go up to these buttons and they each make a different sound, and you have to be like,
Ooh, yeah.
those are all sound effects for different things I can do.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to do those in the right order.
Mm-hmm. Fun.
I like the puzzle where you have to fight all the enemies in the room, and then a door opens and you have to shoot arrows at them in the order you beat them in.
Yeah.
Yes.
That one's so good. I also love, there's a Nugget Bridge ass room, and so you have to fight all your way to the end, and then when you get there you can't reach the chest, so it tells you go around, like you figure out to go around to the outside of that room to get the chest through a secret door that you know has to be there because you can see the chest.
I love all of the secret room, secret tunnel stuff in this game. It's delightful.
In the tower there was the clock puzzle, and the basic one was super simple because it was like, it's 6:15 right now, at 9 o'clock the door will open, so you change the direction the blocks are at to like be the face of a clock, and boom. But in a different room it says when the date changes, the secret will be revealed or something like that in an unrelated room that doesn't have any puzzles in it. And so when you go back and you put both blocks at 12 to be the start of the next day, a even other more different secret door opens that gives you a really kick-ass weapon inside.
Yep.
And
So cool.
I didn't think about that. I saw when the date changes, and I was just like, that must be a weird mistranslation of time, because I already did the puzzle where the time changes. That's good. That's good shit.
Yeah.
One thing that's not good shit is that often when you're backtracking through the dungeons for whatever reason, you have to redo puzzles.
Oh yeah,
which I don't like that. But they're not.
It took me
hard
a little bit to get
once you know the. Yeah.
It took me a little bit to get a handle on that one set of puzzles with the teleporter where you had to like you would move a block to different switches, and depending on what switch on the teleporter would take you to a different room. And using that, most of the rooms were completely unnecessary; just had their own like puzzle you could do for a little treat. But there were some that you had to do in a specific order, a specific way, in order to progress to the dungeon. And that one was just like, it took me a little bit too long. I was like, okay, I'm getting a little annoyed with this now.
So when I did this part for the JRPG canon, because that was the last dungeon I did on that episode, I took forever to figure out the teleporter puzzle. But this time I did not remember how to do it from last time. I just happened to go counterclockwise instead of clockwise, so I got it in one, and I was like, oh well, that was a lot easier this time. Last time it took me forever to figure out where I was going.
That's good. So going to the catfish thing. So there are certain enemies in this game that have rare drops that are rocks. I think they're called rocks, not stones. Because when you go to your equipment select, there are like the main equipment things. There's accessories, and then below accessories, there's a special thing that's just for rocks.
I got a horse rock.
Drops. You got a horse rock? I got an eagle rock. The eagle rock rocks.
I found neither rock.
I feel like horse rocks is something that someone in a cartoon would say instead of a curse.
Agreed.
But anyway, go on.
So the eagle rock I got from fighting a bunch of eagles in like the second dungeon, that one gives you like, they each give stat buffs, but they also give a specific TP or IP move, and the IP moves they give are all fantastic. The one that the eagle one gives is dive, which is great on Maxim because it's just double power attack, which is fantastic for finishing off bosses. It's a little high use, like it takes quite a bit of IP to use it, but before you get Tia, you're gonna have enough because he's getting hit all the time. Mm-hmm. With the catfish one, as much as it's so annoying because what you could technically like, fight the catfish. If it doesn't work, reload, go fight a different enemy and try it again, because that will screw up the RNG to where it's possible it drops. That didn't work for me. I just went from the nearest save to the fight over and over again until I got it. Which didn't take me that many tries. And luckily, I was leveled to a point where the catfish fight was pretty easy for me. And the thing you get, the catfish rock, is fantastic, because not only does it buff magic, so it's great on Tia, but it gives you the Mega Quake ability of the catfish, which, at least in my case, didn't affect Maxim that much, but against most enemies who can't fly, absolutely wipes them out. And it takes so little IP to use. It takes like a tenth of the gauge. And so it's just this easy, like, well, fuck MP, I'm just gonna have Tia use this move constantly.
That's nice. Amazing.
I wish it wasn't locked behind getting lucky, but
Yeah. For me, Tia is like almost every turn using the re-energize IP ability to keep people from dying.
Yeah. So what happened to me this week is I got real close to the end of the Bart and Birdie dungeon, like literally a screen away from where they were, and I died to some random mob, and it was super annoying because you can't save everywhere, and because there's no boss, there wasn't a save point before the boss in this one, so I had to do the entire dungeon over again, which really, really sucked. And then when I was doing the Southeast Tower, I was again one room away from the boss, and Tia died, and I had no miracles left. So I had to backtrack all the way down, and you have to like undo puzzles to get back through. And so I backtrack all the way down, and I go in and I heal her, and I come back in, and that's when I find that if you completely leave, all of the puzzles completely redo. So I had to basically redo the entire southeast dungeon to get back to the end. I died a lot.
I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I just
found
right now on my SP, and I picked up Fumi, so
nice.
should be good now.
Yeah, Fumi makes it easier. I still found this week pretty challenging, but that kind of shit didn't happen to me probably because I had Fumi tanking some damage and doing some damage.
Yeah, and I very rarely encountered much difficulty, probably because I was a bastard and got that catfish rock.
The fights against the scary guy and I think the goblin are really hard because they keep summoning minions.
God, I fucking hated that.
That's
And
really annoying.
I think it makes the fights really cool and interesting, but very difficult. And I imagine they would be less difficult if you had that earthquake ability.
True. Though also any damaging spells you buy for your characters can be hit alls if you want. They aren't going to do nearly as much damage as Catfish Quake or the Mega Quake from the Catfish Rock. But I find it funny actually. I thank you for reminding me of this. There's that bit when you go to your first magic store, if you talk to someone there, they're like, "Oh, hey, fun change in how magic works. Now any spell can be a use on everybody." And it's just like I know this has changed from the last game, but what do you mean this is a change? This game takes place before that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does really weaken them. So the Mega Quake is much more useful. But yeah, also it means that your heal spells can also be used on the whole party to start with, which would have been really nice in Lufia 1.
Yep.
It would have been. So one thing that's weird in this game is that in the scene at the end, Maxim repeatedly calls Guy Sir Guy, and I know exactly what's going on here. In Japanese, he uses a honorific, which is more formal than Guy likes, but and because then Guy is like, you dropped the Sir thing, just call me Guy, and I'm like, the problem is Sir Guy is a really weird, unnatural translation. But what would be more natural would be Mr. Last Name. But characters in this game don't have last names.
Nope.
Also, Maxim just doesn't strike me as the kind of guy to be super formal with this broy dude who he was going to train with and stuff.
Yeah. It's very weird.
But I can totally see how it would be much more natural in Japanese. But it's so weird in English.
It reminds me of one of my favorite anime dubs where they have to find a way to handle the characters going from calling them by their last name to their first name, but the whole dub they've been using the first name because that just sounds more natural in English usually. So the way they did that instead was like pet names, like calling her sweetie, and it's like it feels awkward. I get what they're going for. It kind of works, but there are just some areas in translation where you're going to run into weird things like that.
Yeah.
It's so crazy how that is like a very normal like relationship escalator happens to every person in Japan, and it makes no sense in English. It is probably one of the hardest scenes that's in basically every anime and every piece of media for translators to translate.
Yeah. I'm sure that when someone's translating like Persona and it was like, you can just use Kun and Chan and everything, they're like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, seriously.
I don't have to figure out how to communicate this meaning in English. We're just gonna say Naoto-kun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that must be a relief. Also, I believe the last line of this week is Guy saying, let's get going. But the exact way he says it is, out of here, Tia. And I was like, is he kicking Tia out of the party? Because now we have a 2-person party. We don't need her anymore.
Right.
I will
It was
say
so funny.
There was a point when the scene where you meet Guy and his sister, and the way that their interaction, because they like talk about like who does the laundry, and he just wants to be off fighting all the time, and it's related to Maxim and Tia, and I was just like, I had this conundrum going into this episode of like, do I want to go on a rant about gender norms and expectations and the prison that they are and all stuff? And the answer is no. I just want to point out, like, yeah, that just made me just think, like, oh, this is a real men are from Mars, women are from Venus fucking moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I will hold back the rant because I don't have it in me today.
Yeah,
Men are from caves, women are from towers.
Okay, that has to be the title of this episode now.
By the way, I just did it because this game is so good that I went to go and just get Fumi because we were talking about it, and then I went and I redid the tower to get those treasure chests that you can see in the cutscene that it doesn't let you get. You should go do the tower again and get those things in the treasure chests. They're really good.
I
bet they
forgot
are.
about those treasure chests. Yeah, I remember seeing them in the cutscene, and I was like, ooh, but then I couldn't get them.
Yeah.
Also, it's funny how in that cutscene it's like,
chests.
What?
I love it whenever that happens in a game where there's treasure chests in a cutscene they don't let you get, and it's like a hint of like, go back for those later.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it's funny how it was like, oh no, is the tower gonna collapse? And I guess it just didn't. And in the next cutscene, we're like, let's go and head through the bottom of that tower so we can get to the next place. And it's like, I guess the tower just didn't collapse. I guess we were just gonna die of starvation up there.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe like magic was going to make it collapse, and once Iris saved it, so it was like, well, we shouldn't waste the magic on making the tower collapse. There's no point now.
Yeah, one thing I miss about the crappier towers from last game is I can't just Dragon Quest III off the top of this tower. I have to go back through the entire dungeon.
Yeah. I will say one thing I do miss about last game is there is I feel like last game was handing out escapes and warps like they were candy, and this game it's like we've gotten 2 and I used them both already.
We haven't gotten those. We haven't had those spells show up in shops yet, have we?
No.
In the last game we got those spells really early, and also the items just showed up everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And they were cheaper too. So even if you went to buy them here, I think it's 120 for a warp. It's a big number.
Yeah, no, it was enough that earlier I was like looking at an escape before going into a dungeon, being like, do I want to do that, or should I spend my money elsewhere?
Yeah, the economy in this game is good. The money is tight, but you usually have enough to get through stuff. But when I told the king I wanted nothing and he gave me 3,000 gold, I was like, hell yeah, I'm rich. But I sure did burn through that 3,000 gold real fast.
Yeah. One thing I love about this game's loop so far that I didn't get far enough to appreciate in the JRPG canon episode, but I did this one, is when you go through a dungeon that connects to areas, you tend to get enough gold for one person to get some sort of upgrade in the shop. And then you have the episodes dungeon where you will then get you will get enough money to buy the rest of the upgrades to prepare you for the next town connector dungeon, and it repeats that way. So it's like you get into town and everybody has an upgrade and you can't afford almost any of them, and you're like, oh shit, this is too expensive. But it's because they're not for you right now. They're for you in a little bit when you have to go to the next dungeon, because like each town serves 2 dungeons, which is kind of really cool.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Do you have anything else to say?
This game rules.
It's so good.
Just, we liked the last game, but holy shit, this game so far is really fucking good. And like the plot has barely gotten going yet.
Mhm.
And I assume there's going to be more plot than last game. There already sort of is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You get escape in the next town for
Nice.
1,000 gold. So,
That's a lot of
Oh,
gold.
That's so much
But
money.
I'll probably save up for that because that would be nice to have.
yeah. I currently have some 15,000 gold because I did this last tower dungeon now for the 4th time. So,
Well,
I
that'll
had
do
a good
it.
amount of money, and I fed a lot of it to my pet.
but
That's
this
how
game
pets go.
this game rules. And now that I started playing a little bit now, I don't think I can stop, and I'm going to just keep playing it till next week's. So
Sounds good.
before I drop any spoilers, let's end this episode. So that will do it for the week. If you like what you heard today, you can head on over to www.rpgbook.club, where you can donate to help support us. If you do, you'll get some extra benefits. At $1 a month, the Gadabout tier gets access to our bonus feed, where we have after shows for every episode, as well as bonus seasons of the show that are backer only. At $5 a month, the Warrior tier gets the above, but I also say their names at the end of every episode, like this. Shoutouts to Frost Terror, Dragon Slayer 19, Kildranas, Freddy Rodriguez, Aaron524, and Jfro Prime. And then at $20 a month, the Luminary tier gets all of the above, plus a 1-sentence shout out to whatever it is they're passionate about. So shoutouts to El Tantavi, who wants you to check out Aftermath.site, a worker-owned, reader-supported news site covering video games, the internet, and the cultures that surround them. And shoutouts to Vimke, who says, movement resulted. And then shoutouts to It's Claire Time, who says, for you TTRPG nerds, check out Fabula Ultima. I'm not affiliated with the game, I just think it's neat. For RPG Book Club, I've been Sam.
I'm Bernard.
And I'm Trish.
Toodaloo, folks.
Bye-bye.